What's up, everyone? Welcome to Three Chicks in a Pod, and I am Megan Prize. Go ahead and introduce yourself, ladies.
I'm Carrie Johnson. Hello.
And
Hey, and
Jen.
I'm Jen Lewis in Charlotte, North Carolina. What up, my ladies? How was your weekend?
My week has been really great. It's only Tuesday, but it's been a busy week. Your girl is turning 37 at midnight, so
Woohoo!
she's
Happy
getting.
early birthday!
Thank you, thank
We
you.
should have party favors and blown them for you. Sorry, wasn't even thinking of that.
It's all right. I got the tequila sitting next to me.
Mine's in the fridge just for
Yeah.
you.
Even better, even better.
You know. All right, ladies. So we have a jam-packed show for y'all this week. It's been a crazy world, a crazy week in the sports world. But let's start off with some good, and then we'll end on that other note. Let's start with the WNBA. We're going into week three, or we've started week three, coming to an end of week three on Friday. And so we've had quite a bit going on. Uh, Not what you would expect. The teams that are at the top, the teams that are at the bottom are not necessarily what you would expect. So as of right now, we have in number one in the East is going to be the Connecticut Sun, a team that I think is really interesting. They've been quietly winning. One of those teams that they have the reigning defending MVP and Jonquel Jones, and so not somebody that you wouldn't not necessarily pay attention to, but just nobody's really been talking about them. And they continue to win. They are 4-1. And number two in the East, you have the Washington Mystics, who are 5-2. They are led by Elena Deladon and Natasha Cloud. Very, very excellent, great shooting team. And then another surprise over there in the East, you have the ATL Dream, a team that is in the middle of a rebuild. They've gone through things over the last couple of seasons. They forced their owner out, who was a politician there in Atlanta. And some of her views ended up getting her pushed out, and she was bought out by Renee Montgomery and a buyers group. And so Renee Montgomery was the first player turned owner in the WNBA. I think we will see that happen more often than not over the next 10 to 15 years. And so they blew their roster up last year. They had some problems off the court, and they had to cut a couple of ladies. One of them being Courtney Williams, who is now playing for the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun being at number one, they are not they're a team that didn't lose much in the off season, and so basically the same roster as last year, made it deep into the playoffs. And then they added Courtney Williams, who is an incredibly fast-paced point guard, great shooter. She brings the pace of that team up, and so this is a team that was really good last season that just got better. And then at number four, we have the Chicago Sky, reigning defending champs. They looked amazing the other night, and I think that we're going to see a lot more to come out of them. We saw CP3, Candace Parker, get her second triple double. And she is one of three players to have multiple triple doubles, Vandersloot being one of them. And so that's her teammate. And also, just something I wanted to touch on real quick, and why we don't see a whole lot of triple doubles in the WNBA is because, in my opinion, they only have 10 minutes per quarter. So that 8-minute difference in a game, the stats are just not going to be quite the same. On top of, we're only at 34 games. 36 games this year. So, at number five, guys, in the East, we have the Indiana Fever, who are also in the middle of a rebuild. They had 3 first-round draft picks, so they just completely reloaded their roster. Then at number six, this is a surprising one, the New York Liberty. They are 1-4. They have Sabrina Ionescu over there, who is the top selling jersey in the WNBA. And so you would kind of expect them to be a little bit better than what they are. They have Sandy Brondello, who is their head coach. She came from Phoenix this season. And so I think you got to give them a little bit of time, but I'm definitely surprised that they're at number six right now. Moving over to the West, you got the number one team in the WNBA. You got the Las Vegas Aces. They are 7-1. They're headed by Becky Hammon and Asia Wilson and Jackie Young doing big things over there. At number two in the West, you have the Dallas Wings. We're 4-2. And number three, you got the Seattle Storm. They're 3-3. And number four, you've got the Phoenix Mercury. They are 2-4. It seems like the Phoenix Mercury is going through some woes right now. They also have a brand new head coach in Vanessa Nygaard. And they also have
Sorry.
the situation that's going on with Brittany Griner. And I'll touch on that in just a little bit. At number 5, we have the Los Angeles Sparks, who gained Liz Cambage in the offseason, and they were demolished by the Vegas Aces last night. So I think they proved a point that while maybe she's missed, she's not needed.
Right.
She might be missed. They might miss that personality. They might miss her as a person, but she's not needed in the lineup. And then at number 6 in the West, you have the Minnesota Lynx. So they have Sylvia Fowles, who is the defending defensive player of the year, 4-time gold medalist. This is her final season. She's been playing for 15 years. So a surprise to see them go through this as well, because also her head coach, Cheryl Reeves, she is also the coach of Team USA. So a little surprised to see them at the bottom of the rankings right now. You ladies have anything?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've always read a lot of different mixed reviews on Liz Cambage. Like, do you think she has like that winning personality, or and she just sometimes says things without thinking, or what do you think like is going on with her?
I think she's the Dennis Rodman of the WNBA.
Okay, cool. I like the analogy there. Love the analogy.
Maybe meta world peace, because she got physical with Team Nigeria last year in the prelims of the Olympics, and she actually had to be reviewed on whether she could participate with FIBA anymore, and she's a part of Team Australia. She is 6'7", 6'8". She's one of the biggest ladies in the league. And so she's absolutely a dominant presence, not only because of her size, but her shooting ability. But I think that she brings a lot of locker room drama. And I actually think that besides the locker room drama, I think that Vegas actually looks better playing small ball.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, sometimes you just have to go with what works best for the rest of the team. So
they have Asia Wilson, who I think she's 6'4".
She's awesome.
Oh, she's amazing. She was MVP in 2019. And then they have Dearica Hamby, who was starting behind Liz. Obviously, when you have someone who's 6'7" or 6'8", and then you have Dearica, who's much younger, and then she's only 6'5", which I say only. That's taller than my dad was. Like she's 6'5". And I mean, obviously, you would start her behind Liz, but she's just starting to eat in the post. She's extremely dominant. You're not going to get much more out of her than 12 to 15 points, but you're going to get the same number of boards from her as well. So you're going to see her in double doubles probably every single game.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Carrie, what you got?
Well, I'm sitting here listening, and I kind of in a conversation that Megan and I had off camera was, I live here in the Midwest, Bible Belt, whatever, wherever you want to talk about it. I live just outside of Springfield, Missouri, so I'm right smack dab in the middle. And the closest teams would be Indianapolis or Dallas for me to latch onto as someone, as a fan base. So this is all kind of new to me. So I'm listening, and I enjoy watching them play. I love watching the final the big dance for both men and women in the spring. But this is something that's really new to not just to me, but I think in this area it's kind of not as a big as it could be, because there's nothing for us to latch on to. I mean, in the NBA, the closest is OKC Thunder. So, I mean, they're missing the market, and we're going to kind of touch base on this later, but they're missing that market in the middle of America because there's nothing to latch on to and become part of a fan base of. So it's something I'm definitely looking into and gaining knowledge and watching and enjoying. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, and I'll listen to you guys talk because I don't have any long term. I mean, couple of weeks is not a long term fan, so I have nothing. I mean, there's nothing for me to latch onto yet.
Everything I know, I have learned from the Queen of Hoops herself, Miss Megan Price, and Dom and JJ. So, and Will Vogel.
Jahan said, quit giving up your location. I'm pretty sure they see where we're at. Hey, guys, I did not see your comments for a second. I had to change the privacy to public, so I was not ignoring y'all. Sorry, Will. Thank you, Will. Oh yeah, I'm addicted to women's basketball. We know you don't like the Aces, babe. We know.
Jahan, I thought you loved the Aces. What's up?
No, not at all. Hey, cool. How are you?
Hey, cool.
So, you know what? I like that drama is there though between the Aces and the Mercury. The reason he doesn't like the Aces is because he's a Diana Taurasi fan, the GOAT Rossi. Oh, Carrie, he said, "Are you could be an Atlanta Dream fan?"
Oh, you're going to include me? Okay, cool.
Cool, you're so cool.
Hi, Robert. Thank y'all
Hi,
for
Rob.
chiming in and commenting. Definitely love to shine the light on women's basketball.
Yes.
I think that just us getting the expansion, not only on the regular season, because we're at 36 games now, they expanded our playoffs as well because the first round was a one and done. You played one game. Now it's a series, best of three. And then the other series are going to be best of five. So I think that is comparable. And then, yes, Robert, you said free BG. Absolutely. I want to talk about that right now. We have offered to go ahead and trade that person that they were looking to have traded in to get her back to the United States. We have offered that. Also, BG has been able to talk to a consulate twice this last week. And also there was an interview with her wife that came out on Good Morning America today. I have not had a chance to check it out, so I don't want to say what was said during this, but definitely check that out if you get a chance. Hopefully we see her soon, and then hopefully she's in condition to go ahead and play this season. If not completely, I feel like completely understandable what a situation that she's in, because they talked about the reason Russia even invaded Ukraine is because they felt like they were doing God's work because they allow homosexuality in their country there. And so they felt like they were doing the Lord's work by killing all these people. So I can't imagine what it's like for her in jail as an African-American gay woman. I can't imagine. So we've got to get her out of there. We've got to get her home. I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know what the right answer is, but we got to get her home. So
it's just scary.
I mean, she was totally set up, and
right, and it's scary to think about that this woman is being held hostage in a foreign country that we do not have necessarily great relations with anyway. So, regardless of who she is, what her lifestyle is, it's scary in the fact that we have a woman that is being held hostage by foreign dignitaries that don't like us. So I mean that
like literally Sue Bird did an interview about, because they played on the same Russian team, right? And Sue Bird did an interview with 60 Minutes probably a month ago, right before the season started, and she talked about how the owner of her team was murdered by the Russian government. And so for me, I'm not willing to say that BG is guilty of what she's being charged with. So until we talk to her and we're able to hear her side of things, I'm not going to say that she's guilty of that. If she was, yeah, definitely she should have known better. But if she's not, man, what a mess. And like I said, they already murdered her team owner a few years back. So it's not like this is a country that's reputable to be trusted by any means.
Nor have they been.
Yeah, I don't know what has to happen in order for us to get her back, if that exchange has to happen. And it sucks that because the person we have definitely deserves to be captured and they deserve to be here and stand trial for what they've done. But we got to get BG home. I just don't feel like, maybe she made a mistake. Maybe she made the mistake and was like, oh my gosh, it was in my bag and I forgot all about it. But she's been working in this country for 7 seasons. So I'm pretty sure she knows how it works over there.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, it's not far-fetched to think she was completely set up.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's face facts. Like, sorry to be a little political, but the United States is the biggest drug dealer. So it's not like Putin would be behind. So,
right.
Like,
I want to touch on this comment that Will brought up, because I know, Carrie, you had brought up some about it as well. It says, in your opinion, and when the WNBA does expand, where do you think they should look for teams? And so I know we talked about expansion a little bit before the show and how important I think that is. Personally, I feel like the first team we have to bring back is the Houston Comets. But Carrie, what were your thoughts? I know you read up some on Captain.
Again, me being very green on the whole the women NBA and the NBA in general. I mean, I'll be really honest. I have one sport that I've always followed, and well, I always said baseball was my gateway drug back to football, but it's me being able to expand and learn more about these different sports. So I actually looked up Kathy Engelbert, sorry, and she carries the title of commissioner. And as Megan pointed out to me earlier, it's not president, it's commissioner, which has its own amount of weight. And I really was impressed with how she was presenting and how they presented her in this article. And she has a 5-year plan of assembling powerful stakeholders to persuade more corporate sponsorships to get the revenue up. She wants to grow the marketing and merchandising, which makes perfect sense.
Right.
I mean, that needs to, you were talking about the number one jersey sold. And I'm sitting here thinking, I've not seen WNBA merchandise around in this area.
It's so hard to find. Fanatics is out of it almost year round. Okay, so Chicago won the championship. They sold out of their merchandise 2 or 3 days later, and you couldn't get any championship merchandise until about a week ago.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like that would be a huge. And like I said, I don't even think I've seen anything around this area.
Right. You probably haven't.
Yeah, you have to buy it online mainly, don't you, Megan?
Yeah, and it's so hard to come by. And if you want to go retros, if you want to go throwbacks, expect to spend some cash. Like I looked up Becky's jersey from New York, from the Liberty. That was the first team that she played for, and they went like $350 on eBay for it. Like there's, yeah. And I want her college jersey, but it doesn't exist. Like you can't find it. So I'm probably just gonna have to have it custom made. And you're looking at custom prices being like $300 to $500. So it's just It's really hard to come by. But yes, merchandise is something that they've got to work on.
I mean, that's a no-brainer for me as far as that's an easy thing that I would think that easy in the fact that you could start getting that in people's hands. It's just gonna kind of help spread the fire on that. Looking for partnerships, expansion in sport, and even foray into sports gambling. And getting the revenue streams from there. And that expansion teams, they were comparing the WNBA to, is it the soccer league? And
MLS.
No. I mean, NWLS. And that came from me. Okay, and that probably came from me, and that actually frustrated me a little bit, that we went from what happened to women's soccer and them finally getting equal pay and everything else to WNBA, because yes, that conversation needs to be had, most definitely. But I don't know, as a female, I just kind of wanted 30 minutes at least to, talk about what a great experience that is for our women's soccer league. And I don't know.
And that's the national team. That's Team USA. That's going to be paid equally.
But the NWLS was comparing. I'm sorry.
The NWLS got about a 30% increase. And so they're not quite at equal, but they also got an increase as well. So it's just, it's a stepping stone. It's a beginning.
What this article was doing was comparing how the men's soccer league has exploded, and they started about the same time as the WNBA, and how they were comparing how it, through the expansion and through these different avenues that, Engelbert is taking, that's how they got the soccer league to be as big as it is.
Okay.
One thing that was interesting to me is the WNBA only receives, and this was an estimate because it's not been released, about 25 million in rights, media rights split between ESPN and CBS. Well, she's wanting to raise those those fees and such, making higher fees and getting more networks involved to be able to broadcast. So that's going to help increase. And the other thing that I found, her number one goal overall is increasing the franchise value. So the average team right now, if you had $10 million, you could go buy a WNBA team. That's all. So she's like, that needs to be, we need to get those where they are in comparable range of the NBA. And it was a really interesting article. I'll post it later on through Chicks in a Pod's our Facebook page. I just found it really interesting to read. Again, for someone that's so green in the situation, it gave me a lot of, gave me a good background, as well as someone that I could attach to and see where her passion is starting to take her and going to push the WNBA even further.
What we've seen out of her in like the last 3 seasons, and it started with the Wubble. She changed where we can view games. Like they have them on Facebook Live now. I think that's huge. I think that is something that I watch on Facebook Live all the time. There's games on Prime. There's games on, if you have a local team, you can probably catch them on Bally Sports, because I catch the Wings on Bally Sports all the time. Also, we have League Pass now. So, and it is $25 a month, but the season's only about 4 months long. So it's not like you're paying the same amount of time as the NBA. And then on top of that, this is the first year for the WNBA Fantasy League. And then we are now part of a couple of betting sites as well. So she's done a lot to further, and we partnered with Google as well. And so there's just a lot that she's done business-wise, and I think the growth is going to happen. We do have to give it time. I think that's one of the main things that she points out is you have to give it time. And so, continue to call out what needs to be addressed, but also, shout out these victories and extra sponsors that are coming through at this moment, because it takes time to build a brand. All right, ladies, let's slide over to the next topic. We got the last few minutes on this, and it's pretty big. We're going to talk about it again. I can promise you that.
Yeah, we will be definitely talking about this again.
It's hot.
I have been following the Dan Snyder situation pretty much since Dan Snyder bought the team in May of 1999. Pretty much right after he bought the team, about 2 months later, the then general manager resigned, Charlie Casserly. They released Deion Sanders, or he gave him. The Cowboys had released Deion Sanders. Dan brought him back. But what's been going on since the beginning is to keep I'm just going to do a quick snapshot and y'all pitch in. Essentially, everything that has happened under Dan Snyder's, he lost the name Redskins because I think that he did not pay the tribe that had given them the naming rights the rest of the money. That's been an ongoing lawsuit as well, but it's kind of under the rug now since they've changed the team name twice. We've had 25 cheerleaders come up with accusations of sexual harassment and misconduct.
Holy
Six
crap.
of which testified on Capitol Hill. We then found out, because the head of sales finally came clean, I guess he was about to get in trouble, that there are 2 sets of books. And so then you've got the IRS, the U.S. Treasury investigating this. You have everybody, FTC investigating it, because they were also lying about how much money they made to the FTC. So now you're bringing the government into these investigations.
Right.
Okay, let's not play around. The government don't play around, especially when you're in their neighborhood. Right? So, I mean, and this is ridiculous. Then he's gone through coaches, general managers, football players, left, right, and center. And yet he's still protected. Why is he still protected? Here's my thought. He's getting protected because other teams are just as dirty, but Dan Snyder is in the news the most. So the other teams owners are going to try to protect him to protect themselves, essentially. And I have a lot more to go on. I have 30 minutes I've got 2 hours worth of stuff, actually. I'm just trying to give a snapshot. Yesterday and Sunday, it was reported that they were doing unofficial vote counting. They need 24 team owners to say kick Snyder out. So they're doing it unofficially. Goodell saw the reports. Goodell, within the last several hours, including 3 or 4 minutes before we went live, stated that he that he knew of no votes being taken. So basically, the NFL executive who busted the story wide open and pulled a Supreme Court leak issue is probably now being investigated, or they're trying to find out who it was so they can fire him or her. And
this is the same Goodell that didn't want any of the what was the fine when they did all the discussion and findings and fined them for $10 million for the toxic culture. Didn't want anything in writing. This Goodell, the one that's
yes,
the one that's trying to already cover stuff up. Oh, okay, he didn't know anything about it. Oh, that's cool.
Didn't know anything about it, even though the leaks came from somewhere, especially about Gruden, which led to John Gruden's termination, which was probably not a bad thing because I think everybody in the NFL world knew he was somewhat racist.
Good point, Eric. He says that Goodell answers to the owners, not the other way around.
Well, he does answer to the owners, and the owners don't want those votes being taken, like, publicly known. Like, he and Jerry Jones have the same, like, set right beside each other. And the NFL executive suite, you know, like, I mean, they're buds. Sorry, Megan. Sorry, Megan.
That was doing the most.
And what bugs me the most is with all of the allegations. Jerry Richardson was not forced to sell, but he chose to sell so that he went and dragged the Carolina Panthers through the mud. Dan Snyder should have the same respect, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's obvious just from the little bit that we know that he doesn't have that respect for his team, for the fan base, for the NFL. He doesn't have that respect. He's one of those that the sun revolved around him, apparently. But that's cool. That's cool.
Right.
Anthony, shut up. Kennedy calls it a 5-head. Thank you. Hey, Jonathan. You know what came to mind immediately when you said there was 2 sets of books? If there's 2 sets of books, why is their stadium in the condition that it is?
Oh, didn't they just?
Dan Snyder made all his money from Amway.
Didn't they just release that they've got land in?
Yes, they did. Yesterday they announced they bought 200 acres.
Ironically, right after the whole there's a vote going on, all of a sudden there pops up, oh, hey, there's a possibility of a new stadium and facility, and they're going to build a concert venue. I read through all this and I was like, wow, it was on 100 acres.
They just came through with a blank check and they were like, just build it.
Right? He's trying to act like he's David Tepper with $15 billion.
But then he was like, I'm not even, but this one's not been written or set in stone because that was in Virginia and they're waiting to see what other places, he's shopping around to see which state will give the best incentive for them to be there. Which, I mean, Kansas City's in the same situation, so I can't say anything about that, but, okay. That's whatever.
Okay.
Well, on the plus side, KC has 2 states to choose from without changing their name.
True that.
I mean, you still win-win.
All right.
No, I'm from Missouri, but that's okay.
I think that wraps us up for this week. But if y'all want to do a couple of shout outs before we go, I just want to say thank you to everybody who watches, shares, or comments and interacts with the show. We really appreciate it. And if you have any topic ideas, feel free to message us.
Yes, please.
Sarah, you have anything?
If you haven't found our new Facebook group, we have one. It's 3 Chicks in a Pod. We'd love to have you there. Post things. We're looking for things that are that are thought provoking and interesting based on our topics, women in sports, whatever that you feel is interesting and worth giving a time to read. I'd love to, because that's where I go and get my stuff, is when people start posting links that I'm like, ooh, what's that? And that's where I start my little foray down. 2 hours later, I'm like, ooh, I wonder how I got here. But but share it with us. Come on, let's see what our fan base likes.
Absolutely. Jen, you got anything?
Yes, I would like to personally give a shout out to the Boston Celtics. Thank you for beating the Miami Heat. Just saying.
In that passion that they did.
In that passion, baby. I love it.
Right.
And check us out tonight on Confidential at 11 o'clock. And then we have a couple other shows going on during the week as well. And we have some exciting news, and we're working on a website as well.
All right. Thank y'all so much. And we will see you back next week at our normal time, 7:30 Eastern. Bye, y'all.
Bye.